Everybody, my name's Token D Rock here with another stream. It is Wednesday, July 27th, 11:15 a.m. Overall crypto market cap is a bit lower than where it was just a few days ago. It was sitting right above $1 trillion market cap. We're sitting right around 991 billion dollar market cap for crypto as a whole. Bitcoin dominance sitting at 41.5%. ETH dominance sitting at 18.3%. Bitcoin did rally within the past week to, I believe, as high as 23,500 to almost 24,000, but we have come down past few days in anticipation to the FOMC meeting coming later today. We will see probably a 75 basis points rate hike or 0.75% interest rate hike. That's kind of what more or less is being baked into the market right now. That's why Bitcoin is down along with a lot of crypto. Bitcoin sitting right under 21,600. ETH sitting right under 1,500. BNB under 260. Cardano below 50 cents again. Solana back below $40. Again, a lot of these cryptos have taken a beating the past few days, just in anticipation for the rate hike. For all we know, the Fed could get a little bit more bearish with their sentiment on market conditions, and they may do a full 1% or a full 100 basis points rate hike. Again, time will tell. We will learn the outcome of their meeting here in the next hour or so. Looking at the 1 hour chart, we did point this out last week, how there was kind of a head and shoulders pattern forming here on the 1 hour chart back on July 20th, roughly a week ago. We did kind of come up for that right shoulder. If you want to argue this wasn't the right shoulder, this was the right shoulder right here on July 22nd. And since then, Bitcoin has, for the most part, just been on a downtrend. We have bounced a little bit here in the past 24 hours or so, coming from as low as 20,700. And now we're up about $1,000 from that point. But overall, I'm a little bit bearish for here in the short term. As you can see, we have some massive spikes here on the 1 minute chart. Bulls are leading the charge, but again, will it last very long? Once the Fed comes out with their official details on whether it's a 75 basis point rate hike or 100 basis points, who knows, maybe even 125 basis points. Not trying to scare anyone, but we need to anticipate all possible scenarios. Just for the record, going back later this year, there was no federal rate hike change for the month of January. We had a 25 basis points rate hike, or 0.25% rate hike for March 16th. The next FOMC meeting was on May 4th, which is where we got 50 basis points rate hike, or 0.5%. June 15th, we saw market was anticipating more or less the same thing as May 4th, a 50 basis point rate hike, but the Fed surprised everyone with a 75 basis point rate hike. Will they do it again? I don't know. Again, time will tell. We will find out here in the next coming hours, but I am showing you this because I did want to show you more or less where these rate hikes have occurred and where we've seen some kind of volatility. As you can see, back on May 4th with the rate hike, we didn't really swing to the downside till about 24 to 72 hours later. So maybe Bitcoin finds some strength right here just in the next day or so, and then we ultimately dump back to maybe, I don't know, 18,000 K Bitcoin. We could see 15,000 Bitcoin, but I don't know if we're going that low just yet. But I just thought I would point this out to you guys, how federal rate hikes have more or less affected Bitcoin's trajectory here in the short term. Now, like we discussed, 75 basis point rate hike is kind of baked into the market. So depending on how Jerome Powell delivers information today, the market may swing to the upside or may swing even further to the downside. If we find out that we're going a full 100 basis points with a Fed rate hike, the market's going to not be too happy about that. And we'll probably see some downside, not only on Bitcoin, but also the stock market. So be wary, be ready. That about does it for that section of the news. Hopping over to Twitter, we can see in Sri Lanka, there have been a lot of protests going on. They basically ransacked the Capitol building, the president's hiding and stuff. So these particular passports that were being implemented over medical procedure just a month or two ago, you were considered to be crazy if you were to suggest that they would limit your mobility to transact, your option to do certain things via certain apps. Well, over in Sri Lanka, I guess they're using these passport systems to fuel ration. So just here's a video of it. It's kind of more or less showing you how it works. That guy just got an axe. He can't fuel as much as he would like to. See, they're kind of messing around with it, trying to figure out ways around. Again, just kind of scary to see how show us your papers, show us what medical procedures you have. Like, it kind of shows you to the extent that this can lead and where it can go to if the government and big pharma is left largely unchecked. Stuff like this can be a commonplace here in the West, not too far off in the future. Over in Sweden, there's a Swedish credit card that tracks your carbon emissions, and it blocks further purchases if you exceed your carbon dioxide limit. Remember when they called this a crazy conspiracy theory? Pretty weird stuff. Mass protests have been happening all over the world, whether it comes to causes of concern over inflation, also lockdowns, the loss of freedoms across the world in the name of a health crisis, blah, blah, blah. But the media doesn't cover it because it goes against their agenda that everything that the government did in the name of C-19 was justified and was warranted. None of it was bad. Again, they won't bite the hand that feeds them. But yeah, there are massive protests happening across the globe in opposition to totalitarian governments from rising and taking power. Just a reminder that the pandemic era was the biggest money transfer scheme to the rich in history, and we are paying for it again with the cost of living crisis, massive inflation we're seeing. It's like a giant Ponzi scheme, and still millions of people appear to be either in denial or meekly accepting this gigantic swindle. For the record, workers lost $3.7 trillion in earnings during the pandemic. Women and Gen Z saw the biggest losses. World billionaires get richer by $3.9 trillion during the pandemic. Is there a correlation? Up to you to decide. YouTube probably wouldn't be too happy if I said my take. Over in the Netherlands, they're waking up to blockaded highways across the country on the A50 near Apeldoorn. Farmers dumped a layer of manure, hay bales, and other waste on the highway and set it on fire. This is not stopping until the government backs down. Briefly revisiting what the government of Netherlands wants to do, they want to essentially limit how much nitrogen is being used for farming, which is going to cause something like 30 to 40% of farmers, 30 to 40% of farms will be shut down in the name of, climate change and stuff like that. Not denying climate change isn't real, but the extent that the government's going about it is a little concerning. I mean, because most of these 30 to 40% farms that will no longer be outputting grain, food, whether it's, vegetables, crops, or meat, etc. They're pretty much all small scale operations. So this is a largely attack on the smaller farmers and a big win for, um, you know, people who have big stakes in the food supply, big corporations that own large swaths of the food supply. It's just a big W for them. Here's Russell Brand.
I've seen most of these stories relayed on the mainstream media suggest that the farmers are kind of agitators that just want to use really bad toxic fertilizer for a laugh, man. But actually, when you dig a little deeper into this story, you start to recognize that they're having their rights eroded, they're having their livelihood taken away, and that the agenda of the WEF, the globalists, is not even to have a more organic and ecologically responsible farming system. No, that's simply what they're saying. Their objective is what's going to happen. The farmers will be bankrupted and their land will be purchased by centralized monocultural forces. That's what will happen. I've seen most.
What could possibly go wrong? A few corporations owning the entirety of the food supply? I don't know. Trudeau going after Canadian farmers as he introduces regulated fertilizer reductions. Listen to the farmers. If you want to eat, you need to thank a farmer. No farmers, no food. So it's ironic that he's talking about listening to the farmers, but he's only listening to a very small, select few of group of farmers, which in this case own large swaths
oil and gas
of farmland, own the
in the world.
Big name farms, not the little guy farms.
If we can demonstrate as we are,
so we're seeing a siege on farmland across
many other countries.
both sides of the Atlantic, not only in the Netherlands and part of Europe, but also here in Canada.
Right across the
How
country,
long until it takes place potentially in the U.S. or Mexico or other countries? It's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of
it's not just important for the air, for the water, for future generations. It's important for our bottom line.
Well, they're coming for the farmers. Yep.
So, I don't know. Make of that what you will. It's kind of funny that in 1984 and some other dystopian-driven novels, they kind of talk about how the government or the powers that be will change the definition of certain things to kind of get people into believing a certain narrative. In this case, we've always known that 2 negative quarters of GDP growth is the technical definition of recession, but we have these clowns lying to us in our face that is not the technical definition of recession, even though you've known it to be that definition for all these years. We're changing the definition, that way there's less panic. It's that simple. What's comical about this: rules for thee but not for me. Have you ever smoked? Referring to marijuana. And I inhaled. And she laughs about it. White House staffers asked to resign or work remotely after revealing past marijuana use. Again, another thing is here in the U.S., we had an athlete go over to Russia. She was found to have, I don't know if it's cannabis oil or just cannabis plant, but she got caught with it. She was imprisoned, and now you have the Biden administration acting like they really care about justice and stuff. Meanwhile, here in the land of the free, the United States, we have the highest incarcerated population on planet Earth, which is rather comical that they're focusing on Russia's way of doing things when we should be correcting the issues on our soil. Basically decriminalizing marijuana or rescheduling it. Something we have the power to do so here. We don't have that power over in Russia, but let's focus on changing things in Russia, not here. Rage for the machine. F you. I will do what they tell me. They were never against the machine. They've been pushed by the corporations, the media, and the government to some extent. If you're being pushed by any of those three, you are not part of the anti-establishment. You are not part of the counterculture. You are the establishment. You are the system that is in power. One last thing before we leave today's stream: the bankers will ensure we stay in debt. The pharmaceutical companies will ensure we stay sick. The weapon manufacturers will ensure we keep going to war. The media will ensure we are prevented from knowing the truth. The government will ensure all of this is done legally. Remember, they're all on the same side. We're not on the same team as they are. Just remember that. I hope I didn't get too political about some of these things with you guys, but if you enjoyed this video and found it informative in any way, shape, or form, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to be notified when we go live next, which will be tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. Central Standard Time, so stay tuned. Got some other things to discuss besides this stuff. I'm going to talk a little bit more about more crypto tomorrow, so got some links down below. Please check them out. Make use of them while you still can. Earn that free crypto over on FTX. Earn some free money to trade with over on Binance while you still can. Until next time, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream. I will see you guys tomorrow. Until then, take care and invest wisely. Peace.